Hello, everybody, and welcome to the final regular season broadcast of Mario Kart 8 Deluxe here on the Wartburg College Esports page or YouTube, whichever one you're watching. I am Chris. Now, for the first time, not joined by, well, I am joined by someone, but for the first time, it's not Coach Fisher from Mario Kart. I am joined by Landon for this one.
Yeah, my name is Landon Jepson. Second-year journalism student here. You know, I've done a lot of Rocket League in the past. Hopefully going to do some Rainbow Six in the future as well. But yeah, first time on Mario Kart 8 Deluxe with Chris tonight. I'm super excited because, man, it's my first time on the call for Mario Kart. And Chris is going to be helping me tonight.
It's you'll find it out. It's very interesting, to say the least. A lot of things that'll be going on, and really it's kind of hard. This is one of those games where you kind of just have to let it speak for itself. It's hard to actually match any of the pace because it's I want to say it's impossible to with how much is going on. I mean, if you've played any Mario Kart, you'd know with just how much happens.
Yeah, you know, it's kind of just depends. You know, you talked about with the way that we're going to be viewing it on our live stream is just the two-car setup. And
that has changed.
It has changed.
They've switched it to now everyone has their own setup.
Oh, awesome.
So we will have Lewis and Clark on our stream as we close the door so that they can focus for themselves. And also, you will hear them specifically out there. They get loud.
You know, the Mario Kart team has had an exceptional year so far, still undefeated in the CKL. Fantastic. It is so great to be with all of you tonight. Once again, my name is Landon Jepson alongside Chris Guerrero for this evening's. The Knights will be taking on Cloud County Community College out of Concordia, Kansas tonight. Chris, what do we know about Cloud County?
They're one of the teams that are kind of struggling so far in the division. Granted, it's the last week. So what I heard was playoffs were actually supposed to start today, but this game was rescheduled, so they weren't able to. And I will say one thing that's interesting, and really the only thing that happens with this is the only team that does it, or the only league that we have that does it, where teams play 2 games in a week. So it's a very short regular season. I think it took only about 3 weeks 4 weeks. Normally, of course, this game being rescheduled pushed that back a little bit. But it's the shortest season that we have in terms of regular season. But in terms of the actual playoffs, we still have that to go. We are guaranteed a top 3 playoff spot given the standings as they are right now. We are sitting at 7-1. This is our last game. The only school above us as it stands is John Brown University. They are sitting at 8-1. We are their only loss of the season. DePaul University has, I think they are either 7-1 or 8-1. I'm really not sure because it's very hard sometimes to find the actual results. But yeah, they're also 1 loss. They only lost to John Brown, so it's kind of just a lot of infighting in terms of, you know, how things go.
Like you said, it's a huge toss-up for that top 3 positions. As we get going, as we're waiting for everyone to suggest a course, it looks like Moo Moo Meadows. We've got a whole bunch of different courses here. Chris, when you look at the different courses that are selected, is it randomly generated throughout the players that are given the certain courses? Will they be designed a circuit and then the course will be selected based off of that?
So the way I know Coach Fisher complains about this a lot, and with good reason, realistically. The way that this works, here, let me make sure that thing's muted because I don't think we're getting audio right now. Make sure this is going through. There we go. The way that it works is everybody gets to select a course, and then it'll just be a random chance. Most of the time, teams will coordinate on what course that is, so it won't exactly be complete random. It's normally a 50-50 as we see here. We are, oh my goodness, what is this? I think this is Sunshine Airport. That's what it is.
Yep, Sunshine Airport and the Greenball Circuit.
Sunshine Airport here. And, yeah, it's just going to be, normally you saw the Moo Moo Meadow pick for Wartburg. That's easily the most beloved track, really, amongst a lot of teams, not just here at Wartburg.
But as we see in second place, Orange, Yoshi commanding at CC Dakota up there in second place for Bananas getting thrown here. But as we see, it's crazy the different concept of boost there. But, you know, on to the second lap. 1 banana still in the hand. Clark County's Dakota still managing first place here, right behind a Knights. You know, are they usually designed by Wartburg is going to be the orange when it comes to the Yoshis, Chris?
So So in terms of the characters that Wartburg plays, we have 4 orange Yoshis, because as I told you before, Yoshi is easily the most meta character, the best character in terms of just how their stats are. As you see a blue shell flying in. Lewis and Clark, though, does have both a mushroom and a horn. Double the chance for a dodge here. Is he going to get it with the boost?
Will he get it with the boost?
Does.
And does. Wow, what a defensive play.
And then you'll see the Daisy coming through up in the middle of the course right there, right next to actually the other link. So the Daisy is, you see behind Lewis and Clark checking behind, seeing Lukey behind him. The Daisy is John Long Gone for Wartburg, and the link is Cookie Cat. So really, and you can see everyone else picking either Yoshi or Birdo because they have the same stats. Just Yoshi's more popular of a pick. Shock there. Bullet Bill coming in from behind.
Quick shock there. Still trying to maintain first place is Yoshi here. You know, like we mentioned, Lewis and Clark. Lewis and Clark does play Mario Kart as well as Rocket League as well. Commentated him a couple times. Really was an assist maniac when he played with Electric Step and G-Man Little. And we'll get the score updates here as everyone comes through here in the green ball circuit on one of my favorite. You know, I used to play Mario Kart growing up on the Wii all the time. You know, Rainbow Road was one of the, the mirror battles I used to do a lot of the times, team battles, 50cc, 100, 150cc, you know. Mario Circuit was another one of my favorites as well. You know, just a lot of really fun circuits that you see here. You know, Chris, when you look at these, what were some of your favorite circuits growing up?
That's actually a good question. Moo Moo Meadows was obviously a classic.
Yes.
And one thing about actually Mario Kart 8 Deluxe is because of the DLC that they added on, almost every single Wii track is in the game. And you can see the Mii's there, quite a few interesting characters dotted around at the bottom of the screen. But you see the score there up top, 49 for Wartburg, 33 for Cloud County. It was 1st, 3rd, 4th, 5th, 9th, and 10th there. Difference of 16. You'll see it in the middle there out throughout the night.
But yeah, as we get rolling here, 49-33 advantage for the Knights. Moving on to one of my favorites in the classics of Moo Moo Meadows. You know, the music is just so satisfying, Chris. Especially Moo Moo Meadows. The music of this one just always made me so happy when I would play against my brother. You know, my dad was even good. My dad would always run Waluigi. I was usually a Bowser main or Donkey Kong. I always liked the big characters, and I got to use a lot of the bikes. I love Bowser's bike that he always used. But, you know, huge matchup here. Knights off to a strong advantage, but always remember, everyone, don't hit the cows.
I heard a lot of reactions coming from the players. They were trying to switch to black Yoshis in order to distinguish themselves from Cloud County. But every single player that is going Yoshi did switch to black also as a way to distinguish themselves. So I at least heard Lukey is the one closest to the door moaning and groaning. So
Wartburg
still hard to distinguish each other outside of the names.
Yeah, Coin holding strong here in first place. 49-33 advantage for the Knights over Cloud Community College in Kansas. 2 bananas held, gets the boost over, misses the center boost there. Don't hit the hedgehog.
Yeah, Monty Mole is always a
Monty Mole.
It's also one thing that's always interesting is I'm pretty sure the cows on this course are in a predetermined pattern, but Monty Mole is not. Monty Mole is the real big determiner in how your race goes, especially if you want to if you choose to trick off of his little, I guess groundhog hedgehog holes, or I guess mole holes is probably his name is literally Monty Mole. As we see in Lewis and Clark, of course, probably going to finish up first here, barring anything supernatural. Behind that, Cookie Cat in second. Saw John Long Gone in third. Gonna have to wait to see the rest of results, given that everybody is the same color.
But yeah, Lewis and Clark finishing in first place here in that first matchup. You know, he used the horn and the speed of the mushroom to his capabilities and really escaped the blue shell as he was in first place leading. You know, Moo Moo Meadows, a really fun course, but you know, when you hit the cows, when you hit the mole, it can really sometimes misinterpret the advantage, as we see here with the green circuit, as a lot of us, we're going to change colors back to orange, you know, the black from game 2, but you know, we're probably going to stick with orange the rest of the way here. But the green shell circuit we may stick with here again. We've seen Moo Moo Meadows there in our second race. But looks like we're going to switch it up a little bit here. We saw the Star Cup.
Yeah, it's probably going to be I wouldn't be surprised if it is something like one of the tour tracks. Madrid Drive wouldn't be a bad pick here. It's something that I know Wartburg's been practicing a lot. Yep, Madrid Drive is going to be the pick from Wartburg. And Yoshi Circuit, I think that's SNES or that might actually be N64, from Cloud County. You saw it there, a 28-point swing in favor of Wartburg.
Yeah, Knights up 104-60 now on Cloud County here. Like Chris said earlier, the Knights 7-1 in their respective division. Here we've got the scores here. Berg, Lewis, and Clark leading with 30 points for the Knights. But, it's a huge advantage here for the Knights so far, 44-point advantage. But, Chris said Cloud County earlier has been really towards the bottom of the division. But the Knights, like you said, those one losses, and it's going to be a tight playoff race with three of these teams that have really battled all season against, like you mentioned, John Brown. Only losses to the Knights, and then the Knights only losing to DePaul so far this season as well. So, and CC Mack for Cloud County just jumped in front of Lewis and Clark, but Lewis and Clark getting back into first place here to start off for the Knights.
You'll see there at the bottom one of the orange Yoshis. That's his strategy in case you're not used to it, as Lewis and Clark getting hit by a red, and there goes everyone else, the classic Mario Kart. But you'll see it there, and especially now, actually, Lewis and Clark doing a strategy that's called bagging, which is essentially you just wait it out. You build up items up until the end. You see one of the Cloud County players also doing the exact same. You just wait until you get good enough items, and you make an absolute last-second push. It works quite well on certain circuits. I know, actually, Lewis and Clark has a few that he has the list of, because if there's anyone that will grind this game out absolutely insanely, it is Lewis and Clark.
Taking a little shortcut there, jump through the waterfalls there, but like you said, almost stealing a mushroom there from the opponent. But yeah, utilizing the mushrooms really well here around the bend. He's got the two, Lewis and Clark's got the two mushrooms there. Doesn't get the boost there, but they got the two mushrooms and the bullet bill just waiting for him after those mushrooms he uses, but really utilizing his resources well, Chris.
It seems like at least within the top 6, there are 5 Wartburg racers. You see there John Longgun up front. I would assume that's either Lukey or Squid also up there. They're both very good front runners in terms of just being. You see Lewis and Clark using the bullet through the waterfall, a little bit of use of a shortcut, breaking through everybody.
Yeah, really smart bullet bill there. Jump through the waterfall, got the boost, and then boom, with the hit right out of the bullet bill and with the boost, jumps all the way into second. Berg John leading the way. Looks like the Knights in steady position here in the 2-3. Got Lewis and Clark with the 3 red balls, with the 3 red shells, and Lewis and Clark finishing in third, right behind Berg John. Knights with another great start here. Berg Lukey finishing. Knights going 1-2-3-4 here in this matchup. Wow, what a race, Chris.
Yeah, without a doubt. Let me make sure I get this right.
As the third race concludes, Knights going 1-2-3-4 in that matchup. What a race that was. Knights really starting out strong here. As you look at the Blue Shell Cup, you've got Madrid Drive, Rosalina's Ice World, Bowser Castle 3, man. There's so many Bowser Castle.
Yeah, and
it's crazy.
Yeah, Madrid Drive the pick here. I can't. Oh my goodness, I don't know if that one's actually. I think Kukul Mountain is the Mario 64 map. I don't know what I'm thinking with that one. So let me.
And we are going to get
going to
Madrid Drive here in this one as we get it for Cloud County. Dakota leading with 27. Cloud County Yoder leading in 14. Sarah with 4, and for the Knights, Squid with 24. Lewis and Clark leading the way with 40 as we go into the 4th race. So we get the scores updated here after 4. The difference is now up to 70 here in this matchup. 158-88 advantage here for the Knights, Chris. What a nice start.
Yeah, and I think if this keeps on going, Wartburg might secure the bye out of the first round of playoffs, which would be very nice. Cloud County is, I think, still fighting for any shot at playoffs. Again, of course, I have to go through and count every statistic, but the way some things are posted in the CKL aren't exactly the most user-friendly. And one thing you'll notice, Landon, I don't know how familiar you are with Mario Kart Tour. Are you at all?
It's, I really played a lot of this game when I was young. Played a little bit on the Nintendo Switch, but I'd say from the ages about 9 to 14, I was playing this game with my dad all the time. I really played a lot of mirror battles. I really like the team battles. Really enjoyed those. Haven't played the circuit as much in the past, But, it's always been one of my favorite games. It's just the way it's changed in the future as well. The characters, the different carts, the flags that have adapted, and the boosts you can get throughout, all the mini shortcuts you can get. It's just crazy. But, what you were asking, Chris, I'm honestly not too familiar about.
So Tor was, oh my goodness, excuse me. Tor was the mobile app that they made. Just when Nintendo was big on making mobile apps, they made an Animal Crossing. They made just a general social hub one. And this was one of the games that they made. It's technically, I think, by Nintendo considered Mario Kart 9. I could be wrong in that, and they might decide to change their minds on that. But I think, technically speaking, Mario Kart Tour was the 9th Mario Kart. And so what the gimmick of all of their courses are is, as you can kind of tell, a lot of them that aren't based off of older tracks are based off of cities. So there's
You got
Paris
Madrid,
Promenade,
you got Paris. Yep, I'm familiar with that one.
New York, yep, things like that. And the whole gimmick of them is that the courses change throughout the race. So you can see just how big the mini-map there is on the right. It changes every single lap. And actually, this section coming up here is essentially driving through the Estadio Santiago Bernabéu, Real Madrid Stadium.
Yeah.
And you just straight up drive through the stadium.
Wow. Oh, that's unreal. And the soccer ball's used as a distraction. It's crazy.
They're very interesting tracks. A little gimmicky, and that's, for a Mario Kart, that's kind of insane to say. But it depends on the course, but some of them are seen as very good. Some of them are seen as more tedious than anything. As we round out this race, Lewis and Clark bumping to 5th. I didn't see who was getting on there.
Right at the finish there. What a finish. Berg Lukey in first. Berg John in second. Berg Jake Coop in third. Cloud County Dakota in third there. We're now up to 32 points. As we go into, Knights still advantage much higher here than Cloud County here. As we go into the 5th race here. So we get the update now. Knights now 104-point difference between Cloud County and them. 216 to 112 now as we go in to the 4th race. Looks like Boo Lake might get selected out of the ice mushroom here. It's crazy. A lot of these courses I've never seen before, Chris.
Yeah, they're rather interesting, and especially given, as I was mentioning, the DLC, the booster course, the booster pack courses, they added quite literally double the amount of courses to the base game market. And I think it was actually straight up because they doubled the amount of courses, and it's absurd. Yeah, Boo Lake out of the Rock Mushroom Cup.
Yeah.
That swing there was a 34-point swing. The maximum you can get is 40, so Wartburg missed it out. You see it right there because of that Yoshi right in the middle, just barely sweeping through off a bullet bill, I think it was. But Wartburg only 6 points off of the max there, and they're just going to keep extending this lead, putting themselves in a better and better position to potentially get a bye here. I wouldn't be surprised if we didn't, quite frankly, but you never know.
At 216 to 110 lead for the Knights over the Cloud County Thunderbirds of Kansas Community College out of Kansas, the Thunderbirds.
I did read that their mascot is named Thor.
Thor the Thunderbird.
Yep.
That's pretty sweet. That is pretty sweet. Using the red shell here in first place.
This is a way to get rid of it, really.
It's so smart. Lewis and Clark leading the way for the Knights with 48 points. Here into the second lap. Knights, they maintaining top position here throughout the first 6 carts. We said earlier, Yoshi be one of the most versatile players, and even with the cart as well, with the bike of Yoshi just being a very effective model here. But Chris, do you see usually a lot of the people using the same builds
for
a lot of their carts and...
So it's either this motorcycle or it's I can't remember the exact name, but it's the little teddy bear that you'll actually see a lot, like Lukey and John Longgun running. I think Squid also uses it. I can't exactly recall what Jay Coop uses in terms of his cart, but and I believe Cookie Cat uses this exact same motorcycle. She doesn't use a cart. She prefers the inside drift. But yeah, you'll see everyone using the same wheels, and that's just because it's the best stats, realistically.
Yeah, that was one cart that I was using.
Maximizes it.
The Teddy Buggy. The Teddy Buggy was a really fun cart that I like to use when I played, and the Knights maintaining another huge victory here in Game 5 as we get the leaderboard here. After all the cars going through, got a couple bullet bills finishing through for both the Knights and the Thunderbirds. Knights with the 216 to 112 advantage. Berg Lewis in first. Berg Lukey in second. Berg Jake Coop in third. Knights going 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 in the top leaderboard after this positions here. I mean, the special thing about the one and only Chris Guerrero, he's commentating with me. He does the stats. He does all of the different graphics that you're seeing on this. This man is so versatile. You can put him on a fantasy draft. you can't find a better flex than this guy next to me.
I mean, listen, all I'm doing here is I'm taking screenshots and I'm punching in on the keypad. This one, thank goodness Mario Kart is the least complicated thing to stream, because if I had to switch perspectives at all, I would be completely lost. I'll tell you that much. It looks like we are going to the SNES Rainbow Road.
Rainbow Road, I've got a lot of thoughts about this track. Lewis having 63, Berg John with 46, Berg Lukey with 30, Clark County, couple 23, 20 I saw, a couple players. Knights now leading 276 to 134, going into the sixth race of Rainbow Road. Knights with a massive advantage over the Thunderbirds.
Yeah, and this is essentially the halfway point, as there are 12 races. If you're playing it as standard Mario Kart, it's the equivalent of 3 entire cups. I believe this one is a straight up runner. So what that one means, it's just best player wins essentially. It comes down to being in first the entire time and just trying to maintain a lead. And with the biggest advantage, especially that Coach Fish points out, is anytime that you're able to get first, second, and a lot of the times third. But if you're able to get that first and second, that means the person in second is able to just set up shop and protect the person in first. They're going to be taking any red shells that'll be coming through. If it comes to it, they might try to eat the blue shell. They might try to have the person in first drop back, depending on what the items are and everything like that, how it's going for their race in general. But it really just comes down to a case of protect the president at that point, basically, where you're going to want to take the bullet for him.
You're going to take the bullet. Utilize all the power-ups that you get. Really when they slam, you got to get that boost as much as you can. With Rainbow Road, it's one of the hardest tracks in the game.
Especially the NES one.
Oh.
It's the arguably the most notorious one. You see Berg Lukey coming in. Does have a mushroom. Probably, yeah, it's going to take first here. Makes sense. Has the mushroom able to dodge any blue shells that may be flying through.
Berg Lukey in first place. You got the horn and the mushroom just to make sure. You never know when a blue shell will come out of nowhere here.
Oh, the boo comes in. It steals the horn. Doesn't look like it's going to matter, though.
Mushroom still utilized. Berg Lukey. It looks like first place there for Berg Lukey. Lewis right behind him. Oh, wow. What a race. Knights going. So we get the leaderboard here. We've got a couple more. Berg Lukey in first. Berg Lewis in second. Berg John in third. Berg Kookie in fourth. Cloud County in fourth there after Rainbow Road. But Knights going 1, 2, 3 again. A huge lead and win for the Knights.
And 32 points there. Last 3 races have all been 30-point swings in favor of Wartburg. See it there, actually. Ironically, triple threes across the board.
Yeah, 333 for the Knights. Thunderbirds 159. The difference between the two, 174 points. Moving on. Yeah, that's crazy, Chris.
That's one thing about Mario Kart is whenever I'm posting the graphics for it, it just feels absurd typing in the numbers. Because there was a race, I think, let me make sure I'm not lying through my teeth. Pull up the Twitter page at Wartburg_esports on x.com if you somehow found this through natural means. First off, thank you for that. And second off, welcome, and make sure to support all of us on all of our endeavors. What was it? It was a crazy score.
Paris Promenade in the 150cc Tour Division. Moving on to the 7th race. As Chris finds these stats, Knights in commanding lead here. But oh yeah, wow, those stats are wild.
It is absurd numbers. When we played Concordia, Wisconsin, final score was 709 to 275 as things get started around the Arc de Triomphe. But yeah, the thing is, there's a set amount of points that can be scored naturally, because everyone gets points no matter what the race is, no matter where they finish. So it's set in stone how many there are. It's just the way that it gets split up is always interesting. I actually don't know if it's possible. Actually, it is possible to tie, and I don't know what that would lead to, but I don't think that's a question that we're going to have to figure out in this one.
Very true. Knights starting off strong again. 174-point advantage here in Paris Promenade, as we were in Madrid just a couple races ago. Now moving on to Paris, covering the whole world here. Here in the 150cc Tour here, Knights with a 333 to 159 advantage over the Thunderbirds. We saw a yellow Yoshi, a couple other black Yoshis in there as well, getting the coins. Coins being such a huge factor in Mario Kart, Chris.
They do. They boost, I think it's your just overall speed and your overall speed cap by significant portions, and of course the max being 10, it always will make a difference. No matter what, really, when you're able to raise any stat, it's always interesting. One thing I will say, I do find it interesting, because I've never really just been a fan of the tour courses, because I just think they're too weird for me, but there's very specific ones that everyone likes, Paris being one of them, Madrid obviously, but it's always interesting because they're just so different in the game. There are also the stage races, which are never used, quite understandably. They are way too variable in terms of what they actually are. But you see cutting through here, John Longon actually way in last place. I don't know who used the shock there. I'm pretty sure that was a Cloud County member.
Yeah, the lightning bolt utilized there. Well by Clark County to knock the Knights down there with the coin and banana refreshed. Yoshi back to full strength and size. And still in first place, and looks like we'll finish the Knights in first place, collecting that coin up to 9 here in Paris Promenade. But wow, Knights with a huge advantage here once again. In the 7th race here, 333 points for the Knights. Berg Lewis in first, Berg Lukey in second. Cloud County 3rd, 4th, and 5th in that matchup. Berg J. Coop in 7th in that one. Cloud County making a push up there in 3rd, 4th, and 5th. But the Knights still going 1 and 2 there to maintain that strong lead.
I think that one, the closest that it's been so far in the points. I thought for certain that was actually a Cloud County swing, but getting first and second is just so unbelievably helpful. You get 27 points straight off of just first and second. A +4 swing there. Excite Bike the pick from Cloud County.
This race, this is one I always struggled on so much. I don't know what it was, but this map always was so hard for me, Chris.
I think going to Donut Plains, actually. That's the
Donut Plains, yeah.
That's the thing about it. It's always, it's just a coin flip whose course it gets, and that's kind of an interesting choice by Nintendo, but it's not made for stuff like this, so I'm not going to be too complainative. But there was a streak, I think, where it was anywhere from 5 to 7 straight courses. It was a Wartburg pick, which is just kind of absurd in terms of probability, but it is what it is.
Yeah, Knights now have a 376 to 198 point lead over the Thunderbirds, 178 point difference here. Knights strong lead heading into Donut Plains here. Getting the boost there. Holding the coin with 4 coins is the Knights. The strong lead in first place here. Just finishing up the first lap here.
This course considered as a quote-unquote shroomer, which just means that really it doesn't matter where you are except for the final lap. And if you're able to get a few good mushrooms, you're able to take a good run. Of course, you want to get established there as fast as possible, but it doesn't matter if you really do. So long as you're able to get on a good streak of getting mushrooms, taking a few shortcuts, that's really all that matters. You see it there. A lot of places where you can kind of just weave in and out of the track. You'll probably see a few cutting through there, through the dirt. You see all that orange Yoshi at the bottom of the mini-map. It's they're always interesting in terms of just how the different courses are, because you'd think that it's, you just drive straight up like it's a normal race, but because of the items, because of the gimmicks of the game, it's really hard to play it like a straight-up racing game unless you're like Lewis and Clark and able to just get so far ahead and establish yourself as something that really is untouchable. And a lot of the Wartburg players are like that. I know Lukey's able to go on good runs. John Longon is. Obviously, Lewis and Clark is. Wasting time there for the blue shell to be still tracked on him. 3. It looks like it's going to be at least top 8 for every one of the Wartburg players.
Yeah, Knights really strong finish there. Very impressive. Right towards the end. Berg Lewis in first, Berg Lukey in second. Knights going 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, it looked like in that one. What a finish for the Knights. No, we had Cloud County finishing 4th there. Knights going 1, 2, 3, 5, 6 in that game. Wow. Knights still holding that top position there with the 1-2 finish is just a punch. That 1-2 punch that we've seen in a lot of these matchups here. I don't think the Knights, I think it's been almost every single race that the Knights have gone 1-2 in these races, Chris.
I think so, actually. I think that's actually true. I can check that, go through these. But, yeah. No, the first race, it was first, third.
First, third.
So missed out on the second 1-2 there. But, I mean, even then, it's real well as a little bit of a different choice there between some of the Cloud County players. Waluigi Stadium, the choice for Wartburg.
Classic Waluigi Stadium getting selected for this upcoming race. Knights now lead 433 to 223. Berg Lewis accounting for 105 of those points. Berg Squid 53. Berg Lukey 99. Knights with a 210-point lead over the Thunderbirds now going into the 9th race at Waluigi Stadium. Chris, I love this map.
It's really nice. And actually, the strategy that we'll be seeing on that half-pipe section, I'll explain that to you. It's really interesting the way that it works, because it's something that you would probably never think. A lot of, I think I heard it through burnouts, and I think that's what the players are laughing about in the room right next to us. First off, this skip is absolutely absurd. You just drive on the dirt.
Wow.
It's crazy. And now this one, so what you do here, in order to, because normally you know how you dip down all the way into the side, into the middle of the half pipe. So what you want to do is you want to get just above that blue strip, that blue border where you trick off of, and you just hop up right above it. You don't want to trick off of it because then you go too deep. You don't want to do anything else. You don't want to just not do it because then you'll still go too deep. It's not exactly the hardest timing in the world, but it's something you definitely got to get used to. And that's what I know, at least it was either last week or 2 weeks ago, when all the players, this was the map that they essentially assigned for themselves to sort of run, get really used to. As you see a blue shell flying in, it is going to hit, I think, yep, just Lewis and Clark, everyone else able to stay far enough back to avoid it. But it was one of the things that the team practiced on a lot because, well, if you get it down, it's really useful. You see it there when it didn't work. Lewis and Clark had to go too far down, didn't get the boost straight off of the jump. And that's a lot really detrimental when everybody else is trying to run it and trying to get that place from you by doing the faster strat.
You know, one thing about Waluigi Stadium that you have to utilize so well is the boost. So many ramps you can ramp off. The Knights still in the lead here going into the 3rd lap here at Waluigi Stadium. So much to offer on this course, Chris. You got the fireballs, you know, as you get the shock there, as you can hear from the Wartburg Knights outside. But, you know, this is one thing that's so much different that I enjoy about Rocket League compared to Mario Kart is, you know, you've got the atmosphere of the Knights right behind you. As you know, Rocket League's in their tournament area space where they usually need to lock in and talk a lot more through and, you know, a lot more privately in discussion. You know, with Mario Kart, it's a lot. You've got people watching you left and right, communicating with your teammates in an open environment. It's just a lot. It's a really cool scenery.
It is. It's also the thing that's really different about any of the Nintendo games that we have here, both Smash and Mario Kart, because it's just you can't really fit the team into the competition room like you can any of the PC games, which I think is both a plus and a negative. It really depends on how you want to view it. Because obviously, it's a different atmosphere completely, but it's kind of like you said. It's really different when it comes to focusing because there's a lot more things around you. It's not just a space where this is the game, this is it, that's all there is. It's for me sometimes it was a little detrimental, and I do really wish that Smash was able to play. At least this is coming from the team I play for and captain, but I do wish Smash was able to play in the competition room just because it's such a different feel. And every other team before Mario Kart was added, every other team was able to play in there. And so it just kind of felt like an odd one out situation. But I've come to appreciate it. We do have people here, and I mean, the team's able to get loud enough for you if you support them well enough. So it really just is a case of, in the moment.
489 to 249 point advantage here for the Knights. What a lead here so far. You hear the reaction out there again. Once again, Knights leading by 240 points going into the 10th race. Oh man, this race, I tell you,
here in Snowland.
Oh man, the Penguins would always hit me. I would try to dodge them to the best of my capabilities, but I would always get hit by any Penguin that wouldn't pass me. You know, it depends on the race, but so many. You know, I just think about a lot of the games, a lot of the maps that I used to play. You know, Mushroom Gorge was one of my favorites. Cheap Cheap Lagoon, Toad Circuit, Figure 8 Circuit. I love Luigi's Mansion. That was another classic. Shy Guy Beach was another great one. I'd always get hit by the crabs when I did that one. But, you know, so many great maps. You know, I really never played 150cc. I would always usually play Kart only in 50. I don't know what it was, but, you know, I think if I played 150cc, I'd get destroyed because...
Well, the thing is, it's, especially on Wii, because of the fact that you could do the wheelies.
Yes.
That really changed it, and it was way harder to control, especially, I think, they actually turned up the AI if you played it on, like, bikes only or carts only. As a little bit of team fight, I think that was Jacob coming in and sweeping Lewis and Clark. You see it here, the 3 Wartburg players just staying all the way in the back. That's the bagging strategy, trying to just, well, pick up as many good items. Crazy out there, so you'd think normally it's a very good item, at least in casual play, but when it comes to competitive play, it's way too random, and a lot of the items realistically are just useless. You're not going to be using a red shell. You're not going to be using a green shell when you're trying to get to the front. As Lewis and Clark hits the railing there, and actually gets placed back onto the track further back, is going to use the blue shell coming into this last lap. Is going to hit John Long Gone, cutting through, has a star, uses it right away.
489 to 240 point advantage here for the Knights. 240 points in difference. Oh, we got the Figure 8 here in 7th place. You know, that's one that you don't see very much. You know, in 7th place, it's very surprising. You know, I sometimes would think, oh, what a boost there to jump into 4th there, right over the bridge there. Really smart tactic there by the Knights, you know, coming back, you know, like the tactic we see. We see Cloud County Yoder getting first, Lukey in second there for the Knights, but Cloud County with their first place finish here tonight. A couple Knights are right behind Lukey there for the orange and black, but you know, it's a really good atmosphere so far. And we already got the scores updated by the one and only Chris Guerrero. 530 to 290 point advantage here for the Knights. Now, pardon me, 530 to 290, difference being 240 points here. You know,
0 there.
Yeah, wow.
The first Cloud County still not able to swing it in their favor yet. Excitebike their pick again. Dragon Driftway, the choice from Wartburg, as we entered the second to last race. Dragon Driftway it is. This is a track that both the team and Coach Fish like to hark on about. There is a certain skip that you're able to do without a mushroom, and it just requires a lot of very nice execution. You'll probably see every single player going for it. Might see a few misses, especially if they're hitting each other as they fly through that section. And there they go.
Eber Glucki and Cloud County Yoder, the top position so far for both squads. Here at the start of this race, the 11th race here tonight. Chris, what can you tell me about this map?
It's a lot of bending turns. This here is the jump that you're able to do without a mushroom. It can be again, it's just a little bit of getting used to it and trying to hit it consistently. But it's not impossible at all, and you're able to do it depending on how fast you're going and things like that. But it's more the fact that it's able to do without a mushroom that is the big selling point on it, and really is the main reason you want to learn it. It's such a big cut, and this section here where you're going down the back of the track, a lot of the times instinct is to just trick off of everything, which is, you know, what you saw Lewis and Clark there, where you take the little bit of your little duel, your little spin, your little taunt, whatever it is that the character decides to do, and you get a boost afterwards. But sometimes that can actually be a little detrimental to you as a racer, because it's just no point in it. You see there, Lewis and Clark able to hit that skip perfectly, is going to use this bullet bill racing up. J. Coop now and Lukey 2-3. A bullet bill actually flying in. Who's that one going for? I think they both have mushrooms, so it isn't going to matter. Oh, Lukey hearing a groan from him, unable to dodge that one. And I think it's 1, 2, 3 for Wartburg, but that Birdo coming up.
And we saw the same tactic as last match here. Knights with a 240 point lead here on the Thunderbirds. 530 to 290 here. And wow, the Lightning getting the Knights there in first place. Still in the lead here as we go towards the middle part of the third lap. Utilizing the boost there around the turn. Trying to Continue to get the power-ups there. Nice boost there off the jump. Green shell and a coin being held here with 6 coins here. And the Knights, the Knights will finish in first there. And you can hear the reaction from the team outside. Heard a high 5 or 2 out there after a nice finish there. They're in race 11. Berg Lewis in first, but Lukey in second. Cloud County James in third. Berg Kuki in fourth. CC Yoder in fifth. At a big, Victor, pardon me, just a up and down for both sides. Knights still an advantage, going 1-2 in that matchup again. Just huge. Knights still climbing that board. 575 points now to the Thunderbirds 327. The difference being 248 points. Knights out on fire tonight, Chris.
Yeah, I mean, this is how most of the races have gone. Really, the only competition was between those 2 top teams, John Brown and DePaul. Obviously, DePaul, that one ended up being a loss. But also, that was the first race of Wartburg season. Ended up being pretty nice. A lot of different picks between everybody.
Yeah, this is going to be a question mark thrown out.
Wario's
Oh,
Gold
wow.
You
can hear the reaction.
Cookie Cat loving that it's her pick. Everyone else upset that it's Wario's Gold Mine.
Yeah, Lewis and Lukey, wow.
Distinct dislike from the players in this one, which I think is really interesting. Granted, I always played it casually. I never got that too into the competitive scene of Mario Kart. But we're going to see Lewis and Clark here coming off the front as we enter final race.
Yeah, Lewis and Lukey combined it 144 and 135. Man, mental math there at the top of my head if I could do it, but those 2 leading the way for the Knights out so far. A lot of them, Lukey and Lewis and Clark, combining for a lot of those places. 279 of the 575 for the Knights here so far through these races. Like Chris stated, last race here, Berg Lukey leading the way for the Knights. Cloud County Kuki right behind there in the boost off of the mine there.
That's one thing that's a big change between this and the original version of Wario's Gold Mine is the difference there in the fact that if you ran into a mine cart in the Wii version of the game, you spun out. It was interacted as a hazard, whereas because of the zero gravity effects of Mario Kart 8, Mario Kart 8 Deluxe, whichever you prefer to call it, it's the same game basically. It changes in the fact that if you hit anything, much like a player or a lot of the stands that they have in some courses or the mine carts here, you'll actually get a little boost off of it just as part of the gimmick of it. Probably going to see Lewis and Clark here rearranging himself in order to hit that, gets that little boost. You see the flames coming out of the tail.
Unreal. 575, 327 point advantage. Knights zooming once again here through the second lap, But, yeah, that was one thing that I always struggled with. I would always hit the mine carts and go flying. And I'd finish in 9th and 10th place every single time I would finish the race.
Yep. For a course that they seem to absolutely despise, Wartburg doing a very good job here. I think, actually, Cookie Cat is buried in that's either 5th or 6th right now, despite it being her track. But I'm not going to say anything.
Knock on wood there in any scenario. Lukey leading the way once again for the Knights. Berg Lukey, what a performance here so far. Utilization of the power-ups, taking the left track there. We got the ink coming in for flying through. Berg Lukey finishing in first. Once again for the Knights. Leaderboard coming up here shortly here. Pardon me, this is still the 3rd lap. So we see a couple more cars coming through here. Oh, the blue shell getting hit there. But we see Lukey in first, Lewis in second, Berg J. Coop in third. 1, 2, 3 finish there for the Knights. Berg Lewis with 156 points to lead the Knights here so far tonight. And we will get the overall scores here. Berg Lewis in first, Berg Lukey in second, Berg John in third, Berg Kuki in fourth. Knights going 1 through 4. Cloud County going 5th. Really tough for Cloud County going 9, 10, 11, 12 at the bottom side. Knights finishing 1, 2, 3, 4. On the top side, winning 627 to 357, 270 point difference. Hey, Chris, do you want to get an interview? Yeah, and we're going to go grab an interview here quickly. But, it's great night for Rocket League here tonight. What a performance by the Knights. 627-357 final for the Knights tonight. Oh, we've got the legend himself. Oh, we got the whole team coming in. This is great. This is fantastic. The legend, Johnny Ward. How are you, man? How are you? But, you know, we got even Ashley in here. He played a little volleyball with me earlier today and then grinded some Mario Kart here tonight. But, you know, Lewis and Clark, another fantastic performance against the Thunderbirds out of Kansas.
That's what they're called?
Yeah, the Thunderbirds.
That's pretty cool.
What did we say? What's their mascot? We said, you know, it's
Their mascot's name is Thor.
Thor the Thunderbird.
That's their mascot, by the way, also. That's what the
yeah, I've seen
PNG
that before, yeah.
Yeah, you know, you guys really put up a really top-notch performance tonight. You and it's just crazy. The performance you guys put combining for over 300 of your 627.
Yeah, Luke and I went off today, yeah.
You guys were connecting. You know, you went from Paris to Madrid. You guys jumped all over the place. But, you know, going into tonight's matchup, you know, top of the conference, you know, a lot of you guys battling with John Brown and DePaul this season for that top spot. Going into playoffs here coming soon. What are your guys' thoughts?
Yeah, I think with this, we had to if we lost this, we were third seed. If we win by less than 66, we get second seed. And if we won by more than 66, we get first seed. So we clinched first seed. So that means sorry, this is all logistics. But
no, you're good.
So this means
All right,
so the playoffs is top 6 teams out of 10 in our division.
Yep.
And top 2 get a bye first round. And the 3 through 6, probably 3 plays 6, 4 plays 5 is my assumption. And it's a best of 3, so you can play up to 36 races. Yeah. Here.
Yeah, this isn't on the actual stream, but yeah, this is the last standings. As I said earlier, John Brown finished it 8-1. Obviously, Wartburg also finishing at 8-1. I think.
And DePaul's also 8-1 now.
Okay, I didn't know. I saw that you posted their last game. I didn't know if they actually played their
This is the last game of the regular season that we just played just now.
Gotcha. But yeah, also 8-1. The scores, the plus minus is finishing out. Wartburg up on top. Gonna have to wait to see what everyone else is, because I honestly have no clue, because it's still the most confusing thing.
Yeah, it's
the way that they post
it
scores.
is a little confusing. Yeah, but I guess I actually answer your question, Landon. Going into this, you know, no shade thrown at the Thunderbirds team here, but we knew we were going to win. It was just by a matter of how controlled can we keep it and how well can we actually play against people that, you know, maybe are sometimes really far back, and how the items are calculated is how far away you are from first place. So you might have actually noticed on my screen that sometimes, besides the fact when I'm bagging, I won't talk about that, but or fall off the edge on Snowland,
or get hit by a few lightnings and then
whatever.
fall.
Yeah, I get twice, or miss. Yeah, whatever.
2 or 3 lightnings. Yeah.
There was one where I intentionally, it was SNES Rainbow Road, the one with like no edges, really short. I intentionally drove slower in first place so that I would possibly decrease the distance between me and 9th through 12th place so that they don't get as good items. Because if we're too far ahead, that actually means they could get really good items and come back up, and that's actually bad for us. So, you know, learning how to play smart. This was kind of like a practice, you know, for getting, you know, into the thick of things for playoffs. I'm planning to schedule a scrimmage against some team in the future that is definitely better than us, and so that we can lose and then take that, you know, footage and learn from that. So.
Yeah, you guys being one of the new teams in Division 7, you know, the progress that I've seen just on esports, you know, you guys are winning left and right. You know, the first year of this being in, you know, one question that I had for you know, when I was talking to Chris before this, he was like, Lewis and Clark's playing. I'm like, no way. You know, I've broadcasted Lewis and Clark in both Rocket League and Mario Kart. So, you know, day-to-day basis, you know, you played a lot more Rocket League last year with Mario Kart not being a part of Wartburg
for sure,
Esports until this year. But what do you prefer now down the line? I know it kind of depends on the season you're in, but in your prime, what are you going to play, Rocket League or Mario Kart?
Well, in my prime, like if I were to compare like actual skill level in terms of like competitive player base for Rocket League, I'm on my actual rank last season was probably, I finished high champ 3 like 1385. So that's I think for twos that's like top 4.2% or something like that. For Mario Kart competitively, I am probably top 50%.
Okay.
So what you're seeing on the screen is like super mid gameplay. So
when you're saying some of those top divisions, they're just absolutely
insane. Like the first thing, like UNI, University of Northern Iowa, they're right down the road. They are Division 2 out of 7 divisions. D7 is for new teams.
Yeah.
But they're
incredible.
They're incredible. They're really good. Even their six players.
Wow. Top notch.
Probably better. Actually, I recently actually played a competitive match with them, and we're pretty evenly matched. So our number 1, number 2 player is just as good as their worst player.
Yeah.
So that speaks to what the divisions are capable of.
Well, it's the divisions speak for itself. The difference between 6 and 7, like you just said, it's crazy. The amount of divisions that you see, and this is just nuts. But I think it's incredible that we're starting off. Only 1 loss here in Division 7 so far. Huge congrats to you and the team on a great matchup. Playoffs coming up here shortly here just down the road, and it's going to be a top 3 battle. You guys are going to see DePaul, you guys are going to see John Brown again, but you've seen their strengths and weaknesses all year, and it's you see the scoreboards tonight, 627 to 357. Like you said, the Thunderbirds coming into this, lower in the division, had a couple wins throughout the season, but you guys really manhandled the leaderboard tonight, and really those 1-2 punch that you and Luke had tonight were just pivotal for you guys' win tonight.
Yeah, for sure.
But yeah, Lou, I'm just gonna call him Lewis and Clark for the rest of eternity. He's a legend. He's a math whiz. On and off the video games. But thanks again for joining me on this.
Yeah, of course.
But yeah, it's been a fantastic. The difference, 270 points between the Thunderbirds. And this wouldn't be done without the one and only Chris Guerrero right next to me.
I'm getting paid. You don't gotta hype me up.
I'm gonna hype you up all I want. All the
Chris.
graphics that I'm seeing on this are because of you. It's gonna great night. Sunday night of Mario Kart and then going to classes tomorrow. It's fantastic. There's no better feeling than watching the Knights win on a Sunday night. Then it's all over the place. The Knights conquered. Baseball had a 1-2 of 3 this weekend. Softball split. Last weekend we saw men's wrestling win a national title. So left and right, the Knights, the dominance when it comes to on and off the mat, on and off the court, on and off the field, on and off the PC. But you guys, like when you see this, you prefer nunchuck and controller, or you Nintendo Switch all the way?
Oh, definitely Pro Controller. If I were to play Mario Kart Wii, then yeah, I'm using that wheel. But because I'm not gonna try hard Mario Kart. So if I'm playing Wii, I'm playing with like my cousins and stuff. I'm not gonna play Funky Kong Flame Runner and optimal combo. Like that's like me being a loser. I'm only kind of a loser. I'm not a full loser. So
I think that's actually like the slogan. We should get that. Instead, we'd take off the sayings we have on the wall already and just
put. I'm only kind of a loser.
Yeah.
I'm not
there you have it.
I don't think Coach Joshua Fisher would approve of that.
Probably
that's not Wartburg worth it.
No. Experience more.
Hey, it's experience more.
That's not Wartburg. #experience more.
There you have it.
We're experience more on the Mario Kart course. Thanks again for joining us both on YouTube and on Twitch, wherever you're watching, streaming, tuning in from. Thank you again for joining us. I'm going to be back for Mario Kart. This was so fun commentating tonight. Hopefully be back when the playoffs come around here. Knights, John Brown, and DePaul most likely clinching the top 3 seeds. As you hear the logistics earlier from Lewis and Clark, 66 points to declare that matchup for the first place. But it looks like the Knights will clinch that number 1 spot going into the playoffs in Division 7. Thank you for joining us. Have a great night and take care. Go Knights.
No apologies, my baby. Do you do 'cause I'm feeling so good.